This is Dennis with your Friday Rhythm Games. Today we're focusing on rhythmic variety. You see, I'm writing an article called The 4 Worst Rhythmic Habits That Most Working Guitarists Have. And each section has an exercise to address the habit. And last week it was the habit of ignoring rhythm entirely, ignoring subdivisions, ignoring feeling the subdivisions while you're playing. And so I devised an experiment based on that, so you can go back and watch that from last week. This week, it's on creating rhythmic variety in your phrasing. So the overall theory here is that most guitarists' melodic vocabulary is much larger than their rhythmic vocabulary. Now, because I've been studying creative rhythmic concepts for a long time, and I teach them too, I was thinking that, my phrases are going to be quite a lot of variety. But I found some interesting surprises. And so there's a series of questions. The exercise is you record yourself playing freely over a backing track for a couple minutes. And then when you listen back to it, answer the following questions. And I'm going to use myself as an example, and I encourage you to follow this same example and do the same steps, because it's very revealing. It was revealing to me, and I know it'll be revealing to you. Number 1, are your rhythmic ideas clearly defined? So yes, I'm pretty good at, you can hear when one phrase ends and one phrase begins for the most part. But there are times where I go on to the next idea and in my head I'm thinking, okay, well now I left that idea, now I'm going on to this new idea. But in practice, I don't really leave enough space so that the listener knows, so it just becomes this long phrase. And other times, I'm prioritizing, I play too many notes, and then I'm looking for harmonic resolution in the phrase, and so the phrase gets longer until I can figure out how to achieve that. So, both of those things suggest that I'm putting pitches before rhythm. The very next question is, do your phrases have distinct rhythmic identities, or are they primarily differentiated by note choice? So I thought I would have guessed that I was maybe 60-40 rhythm to melody, because I've been all about rhythms for so long. But to my surprise, it's still 75% about the pitches. Only about 25% of the time in that solo did I create phrases from the point of view of rhythm first. And so that surprised me. And then I also noticed that the next question, it says, do certain rhythmic shapes appear repeatedly through your solo? I found that a lot of the techniques I use, I'm not a fast flat picker, so I just don't do those. I don't do that. I use hybrid picking and legato and rakes and things like that. And so each of those has their own rhythms that are convenient, that spring from the convenience of the technique I'm using in that moment. So it's interesting. I found that not only am I prioritizing pitches over rhythm, but oftentimes I'm prioritizing technique over rhythm. Now I'm going to get on with the exercise for you. There's a lot more to it, but these are just some things I noticed. Then the next question is, is there a certain type of subdivision that I favor? And the answer is, at this tempo, it was 30-second notes. The tempo was 78 or something, I can't remember. So slow enough. So, as per, many guitarists, we want to play as fast as possible for as long as possible. And, I'm guilty of it. So, 30-second notes was my most prevalent rhythm. So, let's move on to the next phase where you actually are going to learn how to make rhythmic variety in your solos and start to think rhythmically and everything like that. But now we're going to go to the next steps, which are as follows. Choose a short phrase consisting of no more than 5 or 6 notes, and keep the notes exactly the same way while exploring different rhythmic possibilities. So here's the original riff. And then it says, change the starting point of the phrase. If the phrase begins on the end of 2, try starting it on the end of 1 or some other beat. So what I did was, this particular phrase, it's based on 16th notes. And so I decided to try it where the phrase starts back 1/16 from where it started originally, which sounds like this. And then in the next example, I moved it ahead from where it originally was, 1/16, which sounds like this. And as you can hear in both examples, the phrase takes on like a whole new character just based on its placement from within the bar. The next part is about accents. It says if the third note of the phrase is naturally emphasized, try accenting the first, second, or fourth, or something. And so, in my riff, it was the fourth note that was accented. So I tried to do it where the third note was accented as follows. And to me, that didn't have that much effect on the overall character of the phrase. But when I accented the fifth note instead of the fourth note, then it took a whole new character. And then the next bit, it says, change the subdivision. If the phrase was based on eighth notes, try it in eighth note triplets or 16th notes or whatever. So I did that, and I moved it from 16th notes to 8th notes, which made the whole phrase go longer, which is called augmentation. And then I also decided to convert it into 8th note triplets, and that took a minute for me to figure out. I had to write it out what it would look like. And then, so here's what the same phrase would sound like. And then, as a final suggestion in the article, it says, if you think notes first, if you think rhythms first and then put the pitches to it, like, try and do that. So I literally, in the following, did just a bunch of rhythms. I thought a bunch of rhythms and recorded just the rhythms, which sounds like this. And then there's no video on the following because I didn't do it in one take. I did it in little bits where I put pitches to the rhythm that I just played, and it sounds like this. So I hope you'll see that just simple changes like where you place the phrase within the bar, or accenting certain notes that weren't accented before, or changing the underlying subdivisions, or thinking rhythm first, and a whole host of other rhythmic devices can really bring your musical phrasing to life. And you don't have to learn any new licks or techniques or scales or anything like that. And your whole this is what I've been finding for myself and all my students, basically, that the rhythmic thing has been so long neglected that we're unaware of how easy it is to transform our to just have endless creative ideas based on rhythm. So I hope you'll explore and let me know how you make out. Right now I'm trying to build a comprehensive rhythmic creativity course for guitarists, and so I'm inviting you to consider doing a short interview with me if you've either been struggling with rhythm, or you had breakthroughs with rhythm, or you simply want to learn more about creative rhythmic techniques. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just an interview so that I can find out like what are things that guitarists would want to see in such a course. And I've been learning great things by talking with guitarists, and it's giving me ideas on how to shape the course. And in reward for doing that, it takes like 20-30 minutes to do the interview. I'm going to give you a free one of my mini courses. You could have, they're all like $40 courses. You could have how to play odd times without reading music or doing higher math. You could have, it's called the Rhythm Generator, which is generating endless amounts of creative rhythms within 4/4. And then the other one has nothing to do with rhythm. It's called For Music Geeks Only. It's 82 common and exotic mode. So if in return for doing one of those interviews, I will give you one of those courses. And so just put a note in the comments, and I will reply to you, and we can connect that way. All right, but I hope this helped, and have fun.